am Ivana Belamaric. I am psychologist from Sirius Center for Psychological Counseling, Education and Research, and I will talk about seeing individual behind their diagnosis. As youth workers, mentors, teachers, helping professionals, we often rely on our knowledge and experience to understand the young people we work with. But sometimes the very labels or diagnoses that are meant to help us understand a young person can also limit the way we see them. One common mistake is called diagnostic overshadowing. Diagnostic overshadowing happens when we automatically attribute a young person's emotions, behavior, communication style, or participation difficulties to their disability, diagnosis, or support needs without even considering other possible explanations. For example, if a young person with autism suddenly becomes withdrawn, loses interest in activities, spends more time alone, it is easy to assume that this behavior is simply related to autism. However, the young person may actually be experiencing depression, grief, bullying, loneliness, or stress. Similarly, when a young person refuses to participate in an activity, we may quickly interpret this as laziness, lack of motivation, oppositional behavior, or a feature of their diagnosis. But the real reason could be anxiety, sensory overload, confusion about instructions, fear of failure, physical discomfort, previous negative experiences. When we focus only on diagnosis, we risk overlooking the actual needs of the young person. This is why inclusive youth work requires us to see the individual first and then diagnosis the second. Whenever we encounter behavior that seems challenging, unusual or difficult to understand, it can be helpful to pause and ask ourselves three simple questions. What else could explain this behavior? Has anything changed in the young person's environment or circumstances? What does the young person say they need? All of these questions encourage us to remain curious rather than making assumptions. Young people with disabilities and accessibility needs experience the same range of emotions, relationships, life events, and mental health challenges as everyone else. They can experience sadness, anxiety, stress, exclusion, loneliness, conflict, trauma, disappointment. Their diagnosis should never prevent us from exploring these possibilities. Of course, youth workers are not expected to diagnose or provide therapy. Our role is to notice, listen, support, and when necessary, refer the young person to appropriate services. The key message is simple. Behavior always has meaning. Before assuming that a diagnosis explains everything, take a step back and consider the whole person, their environment, their experience. When we do this, we are more likely to recognize real needs, provide meaningful support, create truly inclusive environments where young people feel seen, heard, understood. Diagnosis is part of the person, but it is never the whole person.